This is the POCO F6. It's already launched in China as the Redmi Turbo 3 and it will come to India very soon. So we got this phone from China and we have been testing this for the past few days. To tell you upfront, this phone is a very good upgrade over the POCO F5, but there are some problems as well, which I'll talk about later in the video. But now let's start with the performance because that's the highlight of this phone. So this phone comes with the latest Snapdragon 8s Gen 3 with 12GB LPDDR5X RAM and 256GB UFS 4.0 storage. By the way, these are the specs of the base variant. If I talk numbers, this phone scores 1.5 million in Antutu, which is higher than the CV4 Pro that also came with the Snapdragon 8s Gen 3. Geekbench results are also very good, although it's still behind the 8 Gen 2 in multi-core scores. But when it comes to 3D Mark, 8 Gen 2 is way ahead compared to the 8s Gen 3, as you can see. In terms of CPU throttling, the phone maintains 80% of the peak performance even after 60 minutes, which is quite good. I know Qualcomm's naming is confusing, so let me just help you put things in perspective. This is the ranking of the processors based on their Antutu and 3D Mark scores. Now, benchmarks aside, this phone performs really well in gaming as well. We played these 4 games and the performance was top-notch in COD Mobile and BGMI. You get consistent frame rates and very smooth gaming experience on the highest settings. But do note that you don't get 90 FPS support in BGMI, and that could be because the phone hasn't launched in India yet. In COD Warzone and Genshin Impact, the graphics don't load that well, but other than that, the gameplay was quite smooth with consistent frame rates. Genshin Impact runs on the highest plus 60 FPS and COD Warzone runs on high graphics. So when it comes to gaming, I don't think you'll face any issues on this phone. I also noticed that even with the continuous gaming, the phone didn't cross 40 degrees, but while running the benchmarks, the phone reached 45 degrees around this torch area. We experienced the same issue on the CV4 Pro as well. I just hope it'll not be as bad as Snapdragon 888 or 8 Gen 1 when it launches in India. So in terms of performance, this phone is a very good upgrade over the POCO F5, but let's talk about the rest of the phone. If looks could kill, you will probably survive looking at this phone because this is just bland, but it's functional. The back and the sides are plastic, you get volume rockers and power button on the right side, mic, speaker grills and air blaster up top, SIM tray, Type-C port and speaker grills at the bottom. Now, you do not get the headphone jack here, which was present in the POCO F5. For performance and gaming oriented phone, removing the headphone jack is not cool. Apart from that, the phone is now lighter and slimmer compared to F5 and is also IP64 rated, which is an improvement over the IP53 rating on F5. On the front, you get a 6.67-inch 1.5K 120Hz AMOLED display with a peak brightness of 2400 nits and Gorilla Glass Victus protection. The display is pretty bright, be it indoors or outdoors, and in our testing, it reached 2100 nits. Apart from that, you get an in-display fingerprint scanner, which is a good upgrade compared to the side-mounted fingerprint scanner on the POCO F5. There's also wet hand touch feature, which is something we are seeing in a lot of phones this year, plus the bezels are also quite thin. The movie watching experience on this phone is also quite good, as it comes with dual stereo speakers which are quite loud and clear. Plus the phone has support for both Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos, so you can get the best of both worlds. One surprising thing is that even though Netflix is not pre-installed on this phone, you still get HDR10 and Dolby Vision support on it. In terms of display, the POCO F6 does bring some good improvements over the F5, but there is no proper AOD and the proximity sensor is still a virtual one. Apart from that, the haptics are quite good, as it has been the case for all the POCO phones lately. Moving on to cameras. The main camera is now a 50 megapixel Sony LYT600 sensor and the ultra-wide is still an 8 megapixel sensor. On paper, this is an upgrade as it's a Sony sensor with a bigger aperture and sensor size, but the photos lack details as you can see in these samples here. However, in videos, we now get 4K 60 support and the videos come out really good with no focus hunting issues. The selfie camera is a 20 megapixel sensor that takes some good shots and supports up to 1080p 60 videos. Let's hope POCO brings this phone with better optimizations or better camera sensors, because we are now seeing IMX 890 sensors in under 20,000 rupees. By the way, we took a lot of camera samples from this phone and I'll leave a Google Drive link in the video description so you can check them out. On the software front, you get HyperOS based on Android 14 with 3 years of software updates, and we can expect the same in India as well. Since it's running the Chinese ROM, I won't go into detail, but I did find 2 cool features in this ROM. There's active visual perception, which uses the camera to automatically lock the screen when you move away. And there's also contactless gestures that we have seen in ColorOS before. When it comes to the battery, the phone packs in a 5000 mAh battery with 90-watt charger in the box. The battery size remains the same, but the charging speed is now upgraded from 67 watt in the POCO F5. The phone charges fully in under 40 minutes and I got SOT of around 5 hours with heavy gaming and benchmarks, which is very good. Lastly, on the connectivity front, there's dual SIM support with 12 5G bands, Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.4 and NFC. To sum it up, this phone is a very good upgrade over the POCO F5. It brings better processor, much improved display, faster charging support and some nifty upgrades here and there. The only drawback is that the camera improvements are still questionable and the headphone jack is now gone. But other than that, this phone checks all the boxes. So this phone launched in China at 1,999 yuan, which roughly translates to 24,000 Indian rupees. Now, I am not expecting POCO to be launching this at 24K because then the POCO F6 Pro will be killed for no fault of its own. But having said that, if this phone launches under 30,000 rupees, then I think it will probably disrupt the market. What do you guys think? Tell us in comments and see you tomorrow.